Hello, Precalculus. Did you miss me? Don't answer that out loud. I'm not emotionally stable enough to hear your answer right now. Let's jump into page 2. This is 10. That's not a pen. This is 10-3, day 1. Okay, I'm not going to write it. So let's take a look at this problem here. Let's pretend that we're not affected by this virus and that the economy and the real estate market are not tanking right now. Let's just look on the bright side. So a couple's house during their first year of ownership, true love, is $430,000. And lucky them, the home is going to appreciate 3%. And lucky all of us, this is exponential growth. So thanks, Chapter 3. I know everybody worked so hard during those 2 weeks before spring break. So there's our exponential growth. And so the key thing here is remembering from Chapter 3 that our growth rate is actually 1 plus the 3%. So the R that we're going to use is 1.03. And this is a key issue that's going to mess people up on other word problems in this chapter, I promise. So make sure you understand Chapter 3 and understand why we're using the rate of 1.03. And so write the explicit formula. I'm just going to rewrite it in case you happen to have forgotten it since the last video. First term times R to the n minus 1 power. So I'm going to go ahead and say that my nth term is the first term. The first term was, $430,000 times 1.03 raised up to the n minus 1. And then now it wants the value in the 10th year. Hey, let's save a few seconds. Let's just duplicate that bad boy right there. And so now I can change the n to 10. And then I'm going to go to the calculator for that. We're talking money. 56105.247. We'll go dollars and cents because we're talking money. And so there's the answer there. All right, so we've practiced between the first two videos finding terms and finding R and things like that. So that's all great. Hope you had a good time. But now we're going to spend the rest of this lesson on finding the sums of all the terms. So here is a formula that we'll give it to you if we ever get to assess on this. We'll give you this formula, the sum of a finite. Key thing here is going to be a finite. So it might be 5 terms, might be 500 terms. Either way, we can get that sum. So let's just jump right in. And this first step, a lot of people would probably skip, and that's fine. But let's go through this guy here and just jump through our pieces. So I can see from, let me highlight it. I can see from this formula that this does fit the formula that we talked about in the first two videos for finding the terms. And I realize that that is an exponential formula, which helps me realize it's a geometric series. That is going to be an issue for some people, is differentiating between the 10-3 geometric, 10-2 arithmetic, and the 10-1 randomness, which sometimes are neither. So we can see that our first term is going to be 5. If I didn't know that, I could put, I guess I can zoom in. If I didn't know that the first term was 5, I could put 5 in for the n. But if I know my formula, then I already know that's 5. And if I know my formula, I can see that the R is -2. And based on all the days that we've talked about sigma notation or summation notation, the new sensation sweeping the nation, it's a celebration and a proclamation. Oh man, don't you wish we were in class together? So we can see that that's going to be from 1 to 9 is, where's my pen? 9 terms. So let's jump right in. Switch colors. So the sum of 9 terms equals first term 1 minus R raised to the n. Now be careful because this is to the n, not the n minus 1 on this formula here, and 1 minus -2. So that's what we would give you a point for setting that up if we ever get to give you a free response. Now there's more than one way you can type that into your calculator. I'll give you a recommendation if you want to do it in one step. If you want to do it in multiple steps, there's some ways that we could do that too. I can make other videos. I'm sure that's the last thing you want right now. So if you're going to go to your calculator, 5. Now I'm going to do a parentheses for the whole numerator, 1 minus parentheses -2, and make sure that that -2 gets in parentheses. That's a big mistake. If he doesn't get the parentheses, you just killed the problem and you can't get the right answer. Now divide by parentheses denominator 1 minus -2. Now your calculator knows order of operations, so you don't have to worry about putting this -2 in parentheses. It'll be just fine if you don't. But this -2 has to be in parentheses or you're not going to get the right answer. And so type that in the calculator. Sometimes these come out amazingly perfect and clean. Sometimes you get fractions and decimals. It turns out on this problem here, we get a perfect 855. So if you're not getting that with your calculator, reach out and ask us some questions. Let's take a look at one more guy here. And I don't know if you like the idea, but let's take a look. So we start with first term equals a 3, and the ratio equals a positive 3/2. Now, we did practice this with our previous lessons. Let's zoom in, I guess. Going from 0 to 20, you do need to know from the previous lessons, that's 21 terms. So be careful there. That's a common mistake on that one. Another quick note on this problem is that usually when we start with 0, this will be an n, and then versus the previous problem, if we start with a 1, then you'll see the n-1. So that's just some common patterns that are going to happen in this lesson. So here we go. Let's find the, switch colors. The sum of 21 terms is first term, 1 minus that 3/2 does need parentheses to the 21st, over 1 minus this 3/2 does not. And one more time, if you were going to do that in the calculator, 3 parentheses numerator, 1 minus parentheses 3/2 to the 21st, close numerator, divide by denominator, 1 minus 3/2. And this one is going to be a decimal. We can go blue. Sure. 29921.311. 29,921.311. Good times. If you're not getting on the calculator, reach out to us. All right, and we'll close one more problem before we take the next break. So here is a series, 7, 14, 28. I don't know what terms are in the middle, going all the way to 896. Now, if you're super patient, maybe you want to find all the missing terms and add them up, that's fine. Obviously, we can make this problem really gross, where that would definitely not be the way you want to do it. However, we have seen problems like this before, in which case it was arithmetic. So we do need to stop for a second to make sure we know how we're getting from term to term. In this case, it's just doubling every time. So if we're taking inventory of what we know, I do know that the first term is 7. I do know that the ratio is 2. I know the last term is 896, but the problem right now is I don't know how many terms there are. I don't know if that 896 is the 10th term, the 15th term. I don't have an idea. So we can't use the formula for the sum until we know how many terms there are. So the nice thing about these geometric problems is there's only one formula that deals with the terms. So let me just remind you. First term times r to the n-1. So using that formula, let's see what happens. 896 is one of the terms. I just don't know which one. I do know the first term. I do know the ratio. And would you believe it? This just turned into a Chapter 3 problem. Lesson 3-4, solving exponential equations. Oh man, math is so amazing. Just like all of you. And so I'm going to go 896 divided by 7. And that would be a 128. That sounds right. And now there's two ways you could do this. You could log both sides. But the other option is if you know your bases, 128 is really 2 to the 7th. Now, a quick side note is that when we're doing these problems in the entire chapter, n has to be a whole number. N can't be a fraction or a decimal. N can't be negative. That doesn't make sense. What is the 12.5th term? I don't know. That doesn't make sense. So now we know that n minus 1 equals 7. And after just a little bit of work, nothing too painful, we do know there's 8 terms. So now I think there's some space. That's awesome. Let's go west right here. So the sum of 8 terms is the first term times 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. And you can try typing that in, see what you get. And if you get 1785, then you typed it in correctly. If you did not get 1785, reach out and we can make some more videos on the calculator. So one more to go. Hang in there. Thanks for watching. See you soon.